What if the story you listened to tonight wasn't a story at all? What if it was simply what you saw? You're not a hero or a warrior. You're just here, in the quiet of your room, watching the world as it sleeps. You are a silent observer, safe and unseen, looking out upon a world that is unaware of your gaze. Your hand rests on the cold glass of the window. Feel the chill of it seep into your palm, a grounding sensation that connects you to this very moment, to this peaceful space. Outside, the moonlight paints the village in shades of silver and deep, deep blue. It is a world rendered in two colors, the silver of light and the blue of shadow. The roofs of the cottages, thatched with straw, have a soft, almost furry appearance under the moon's gentle glow. The narrow, winding paths between them are rivers of darkness, pathways to dreams. You can see the baker's house, its tall chimney a silent silhouette against the starry sky. Not a wisp of smoke comes from it now. The ovens are cold. The baker is asleep. You can see the weaver's cottage, with the large loom, quiet and still, visible through her own window. The threads are motionless, waiting for the morning light. You can hear the distant, constant sigh of the sea. It is the sound of the world breathing in its sleep. In and out, a slow, timeless rhythm. Listen to it for a moment. A gentle, washing sound that has been here for 1,000 years and will be here for 1,000 more. It is the sound of permanence, the sound of peace. Closer, you can hear the familiar, friendly creak of a neighbor's shutter swaying in the soft night wind. It is a sound so common you barely notice it, a tiny note in the symphony of the night's quiet. Everything is as it should be. The world is tucked in, safe and sound under a thick, soft blanket of stars. You feel that gentle, heavy pull of sleep at the corners of your awareness, as the day's worries and thoughts melt away, dissolving into the deep and peaceful quiet of the night. But tonight, a new light appears. At first, it's just one. A single, tiny point of orange on the dark, flat line of the horizon. It flickers, a pinprick of warm color in the vast, cool canvas of the sea and sky. It looks like a star that's fallen from the heavens and is floating on the water. You blink, your eyes heavy with sleep. Perhaps it is just a reflection. Perhaps it is a trick of the moonlight. You watch it, your head tilted, your curiosity a gentle nudge against the encroaching tide of sleep. It doesn't move. It just burns with a soft, steady pulse. Then another appears beside it. Just as small, just as distant. Two lights now, like a pair of watching eyes on the edge of the world. Then another. And another. And another. A string of tiny, flickering flames where there should only be the unbroken, absolute darkness of the open sea. They form a line, a necklace of fire laid out upon the black velvet of the water. They are not stars. They are not reflections. They are something new. Something that is coming closer. Slowly, silently, shapes begin to form around the lights. Darker patches against the deep blue of the night. And from these shapes long, high curves reach up toward the sky, like the necks of great sea birds. Dragon-headed ships, silent as ghosts, are gliding into the bay. You pull the wool blanket a little tighter around your shoulders, the soft fabric a comforting weight. Your breath fogs the cold glass for a moment, a fleeting cloud that obscures the strange sight, and then it fades away, revealing the scene once more. There's no fear. Not yet. There is only a deep, consuming curiosity. The world outside your window has become a stage, and you are its only audience, seated in the perfect, private darkness of your room. The gentle, predictable story of your quiet village night is about to be rewritten, and you have a perfect, secret view. This isn't a nightmare. It's a midnight adventure, a silent story unfolding in real time, just for you. So let the soft sounds and the strange, dancing light of this spectacle guide you, not into fear, but into a deep and profound state of rest. Let this unfolding story carry you away from your own thoughts, and into the moment. Let the story carry you away. Section 1. The Arrival. The lights grow brighter as the ships glide closer. Each one is a dancing torch held high in the bow of a long, slender ship, the flame whipping and snapping in the sea breeze, casting flickering orange light onto the water ahead. You can make out their shapes clearly now, dark silhouettes against the moon's shimmering, silver path on the water. They are unlike any fishing boats you have ever seen. The fishing boats of your village are stout and wide, built for practicality. These are long and dangerously narrow, built for speed. They have high, curving prows and sterns, each one carved into the powerful, snarling shape of a great beast. Dragon heads, you think, their wooden jaws open as if tasting the salt on the wind, their painted eyes staring forward into the darkness. They seem to glide effortlessly, their single, square sails now furled and tied to the mast, looking like the folded wings of sleeping birds. Their movement comes from something else. At first, there's almost no sound. But as you listen, truly listen, you begin to hear it. The rhythmic, whisper-soft dip of oars into the black water. It is a hushed and disciplined sound. A gentle splash, a quiet pull, a silent recovery. Splash, pull, silence. It's a sound like a slow, steady heartbeat that seems to come from the sea itself, a pulse of intention moving through the night. One ship, then 3, then 5, you lose count as more and more emerge from the lingering sea mist that clings to the entrance of the bay. They move together, a silent, disciplined procession, following the lead ship in a perfect, unspoken order. They are a school of sleek predators, their intentions hidden in the cold depths from which they came. You watch, mesmerized, as the prow of the first ship touches the wet sand of the beach. The sound is a soft, grinding crunch, a gritty whisper that is barely there over the gentle, rhythmic lapping of the waves against the shore. There are no grand announcements, no battle horns, no triumphant shouts. Just the quiet, unnerving efficiency of their arrival. The moment the ship is beached, dark figures begin to leap from its sides into the shallow, moonlit surf. The water splashes around their knees, the sound soft and percussive. From your high window, they aren't men, not yet. They are shadows detaching themselves from larger shadows, becoming solid only as they step onto the moonlit shore. They move with a swiftness that is both startling and graceful, their feet finding purchase in the wet sand as if they have done this 1,000 times before. The second ship lands, its prow sliding onto the beach just a few feet from the first. More shadows leap into the water. Then the third ship arrives, and a fourth. Soon the beach, usually so empty and serene at this hour, is teeming with these dark forms. They gather in a loose cluster, their movements sure and economical. There is no confusion, no hesitation. You can see the glint of moonlight now on the things they carry. The long, straight shafts of spears. The heavy, curved heads of axes hooked over their shoulders. Round shields, some painted with simple, stark patterns, are slung across their backs, catching the moonlight like pale, secondary moons. A few figures seem taller than the rest, broader at the shoulder. One of these larger shadows raises an arm, a simple, clear gesture in the torchlight. At this silent command, the cluster of shadows begins to move. They don't run. They walk, a steady, ground-covering pace, up from the beach and toward the first of the sleeping houses. Toward your village. Toward your home. Still, the only real sounds are the endless sigh of the sea, the whisper of the wind in the thatch of your own roof, and that distant, soft creak of a rope on a mast. The world hasn't woken up to its new reality. It is a secret held between you, the moon, and the silent invaders. You shift your position, curling your knees up to your chest and resting your chin on the windowsill. The cold from the glass seeps into your skin, A small, grounding sensation in this strange, dreamlike moment. The torchlight bobs and weaves as the figures move between the first few houses, the fishermen's huts, built closest to the shore. The light casts long, dancing shadows that stretch and shrink, making the familiar shapes of woodsheds and stacked lobster pots seem alien and alive, participants in a silent, mysterious dance. The men are dressed in dark, heavy wool tunics and trousers. Some wear simple, conical helmets of iron that catch the moonlight in sharp, fleeting sparks. Most, though, are bareheaded, their hair long and tied back from their faces. They are not the horned demons of frightened tales. They are practical men of the sea, their movements a study in stark purpose. There is no wasted energy, no hesitation, no conversation. They fan out now, each small group seeming to know exactly where it is going, moving with a shared and unspoken understanding. Before we continue our journey into the heart of this moonlit night, if you're finding a strange sense of peace in this unfolding story, perhaps you'd consider joining our quiet community. We're a family of history lovers and peaceful sleepers, exploring the past not for its noise, but for its silent, forgotten moments. Subscribing to the channel means you'll never miss a journey, and giving the video a like helps others find their way here. It's a small, silent gesture that means the world to us. Now let's return to our window, let's return to the stillness of the night, and let the story continue to lull you deeper and deeper into rest. Section 2. The spectacle of muffled sound and moving light. The first real sound of the raid reaches you, cutting through the gentle wash of the sea. It's not a scream. It's the sharp, splintering crack of a wooden door being forced from its frame. The sound is loud in the profound stillness of the night, but from your vantage point, high and distant, it feels strangely impersonal, like a woodsman splitting a log in a distant forest. The sound echoes for a moment, then is absorbed by the night. It is followed by a lone murmur of deep voices, urgent, guttural sounds, but the words are lost in the distance, muffled by the walls of your own home. They aren't words to you, so much as textures of sound, rough and low. You watch as torchlight suddenly floods the inside of the small fisherman's cottage. Figures move within, their shadows thrown large and distorted against the opposite wall in a brief, silent pantomime. A moment later they emerge, carrying sacks and bundles. One man has a heavy roll of fishing nets slung over his shoulder. Another carries a heavy wooden chest between him and a comrade, their steps synchronized as they bear the weight. They aren't destroying for the sake of it, they are gathering. It's a raid, yes, but it has the organized, methodical feel of a harvest under the moon. Another door is broken. The sound comes from a different part of the village now, a percussive beat in the night's quiet rhythm. A sharp crack here, a dull thud there as a heavy shoulder meets wood. And with each broken silence, a new bloom of torchlight blossoms in a window, a new silent play of shadows on a wall. The village, which was just moments ago a uniform expanse of slumbering darkness, is now dotted with these pockets of frantic, fiery light. It looks like a map, with points of interest being marked one by one with fire. You see a brief flash of movement as a villager, a shadow in the deeper shadows, darts from the back of one house to the darkness behind another. The raiders don't give chase. Their focus is on the houses, on what's inside them. The violence, you realize, isn't random or wild. It's a tool, used with precision to get what they came for. This thought doesn't make it less frightening, but from your detached, dreamlike view, it turns the chaos into a kind of stark, cold logic. Now, a new sound joins the symphony, the clang of metal. Not the sharp, high-pitched ring of a sword fight, but a duller, more rhythmic sound. A shield being struck by an axe to break it apart. A tool hitting a metal lock. It's like hearing a blacksmith at his forge far down the valley, the sounds softened and distorted by the distance and the night air. Clang. Thump. clang. It's the soundtrack to their work, a slow, metallic beat beneath the sighing of the sea. The raiders move with unnerving confidence through the narrow lanes between the houses. Perhaps they know this layout from a previous visit, or perhaps all such coastal villages are the same to them. They head toward the larger buildings now, moving past the small cottages and toward the center of the village, toward the baker's, the smithy, and the small stone church on the gentle hill. The church door is thick oak, bound with bands of iron. It doesn't splinter like the others. You see 3 of the largest figures put their shoulders to it. They heave, once, their grunts a low, animal sound carried on the wind. They heave twice, and the door shudders. On the 3rd try, the door groans open with a deep, wooden cry of protest that seems to echo through the entire village. The torchlight that pours into the dark nave reveals, for just a moment, the rows of simple wooden pews and the cold stone altar. Then the church seems to swallow the light, its sacred darkness deeper and more absolute than the night outside. The men who enter the church move with a different kind of purpose. They carry themselves with an air of authority. Leaders, you think? Chieftains, even. One wears a shirt of mail that shimmers like fish scales in the torchlight, a sign of great wealth and status. He carries no spear or axe, but a sword with a heavy, glinting hilt hangs at his hip. You lean closer to the glass, your breath misting it once more. Your fascination has completely overridden any sense of sleepiness. You aren't just watching a robbery. You are witnessing a society in motion, its structure and discipline laid bare in the moonlight. They are not mindless savages from a nightmare. They are methodical, disciplined, and terrifyingly efficient. The sounds of the village begin to change again. Now there are other noises, the sounds of awakened life. The panicked, high-pitched bleating of sheep from their pen near the common green. The frantic, useless crowing of a rooster, woken long before the dawn. And beneath it all, a low, constant hum of human voices. Not screams of terror, but a collective, hidden murmur of fear and disbelief from villagers who are now awake, hiding in their darkened homes, listening to the same sounds you are, but without your safe detachment. For them, each clang of steel, each splintering of wood, is an immediate, terrifying threat. For you, from your safe perch, it remains a spectacle. The play of light and shadow is still the most mesmerizing part. A torch held high turns the thatched roof of a cottage to shimmering gold for a moment. A group of raiders passing a bonfire throws their elongated shadows onto a wall, making them look like giants from an old tale. The world outside your window is a canvas, being constantly repainted with fire and movement and shadow. You find your eyelids growing heavy, not from boredom, but from the sheer sensory fullness of it all. The rhythmic sounds, the dancing lights, the slow, deliberate pace of the raid, it's all becoming a strange and compelling sort of lullaby. A lullaby of muffled shouts and distant clangs, of splintering wood and splashing water. The fear you think you should be feeling is absent, replaced by a profound, sleepy wonder. Your mind is captured completely by the story unfolding outside. There is no room for worry. There is only the window, the moonlight, and the silent, fiery dance of the raiders. Section 3. The Gathering and the Retreat. The raid is entering a new phase. The initial frantic moments of breaking and entering are over, giving way to a more organized, flowing process. The figures are no longer fanning out into the village. They are moving back toward the beach, where their longships wait like patient, hungry beasts. They have formed a living chain, a line of men that stretches from the center of the village down to the shore, and they are passing goods from hand to hand. You watch, captivated by the rhythm of it. A heavy sack of grain, passed from one set of hands to the next. A barrel of ale, rolled a few feet, then lifted and passed on. A heavy wooden chest, carried by 2 men, is set down and picked up by the next pair in line. The work is heavy, but it's done with a practiced, coordinated grace, like sailors handling heavy ropes in a storm. Each man knows his place in this chain. There is no wasted motion. The torchlight illuminates their faces now and then as they turn, bearded and weathered, glistening with sweat, their expressions not of anger or glee, but of grim satisfaction. They are workers completing a difficult task, their prize the collected wealth of a season's labor. The chieftain in the shimmering mail shirt stands on the small hill near the church, observing the entire operation. He does not join the labor. His role is to watch and to direct. He is the mind, they are the body. He is still as a statue for long moments, his gaze sweeping from the village to the ships and back again. He raises a hand, and a group of men carrying a large, ornate chest changes direction, moving toward a less crowded part of the beach. His commands are not shouted, but conveyed through simple, clear gestures that are instantly understood and obeyed. The tide is beginning to turn. You can see it in the way the water has receded slightly from the beach, in the way the beach ships now sit higher on the sand. The raiders seem to know it instinctively, their pace quickening slightly, though without losing its discipline. They are bound by the sea's ancient rhythms. The sea brought them here, and the sea will decide when they must leave. You see some of your own people now, emerging cautiously from their hiding places. A man at the edge of the lane. A woman in a doorway. It is too late to fight. They are few, and the raiders are many and well armed. So they just watch, their faces pale and drawn in the moonlight, their expressions a mixture of fear, helpless anger, and weary resignation. They watch as the fruits of their labor, the stores for the coming winter, are carried away down the human chain. From your window, their stillness is as captivating as the raiders' constant movement. They are silent statues of loss. A few small fires have been set. Not the great, devouring fires of total destruction, but smaller blazes. A haystack is burning, and a fishing boat that was too heavy to steal has been set alight. It seems less an act of malice and more one of tactics, to create confusion and to cover their retreat with a pall of smoke. The smoke is thicker now, coiling lazily into the night sky. The sharp, acrid smell of it reaches your room, a tangible intrusion, cutting through the familiar scent of salt and sea. It's the only part of the raid that has truly breached the safety of your walls. The retreat is as organized as the arrival. As the last of the goods are loaded, a rearguard forms, a line of men with their round shields held ready and their long spears pointed toward the village. They stand as a wall of wood and steel, a clear warning. But no challenge comes. The village is defeated and knows it. One by one, the longships are pushed back into the water with a heavy, grating scrape of wood on sand and pebbles. The raiders clamber aboard, their movements still swift and sure-footed even after a night of labor. The sheep are herded onto one of the larger vessels, their panicked bleats echoing strangely across the water. The chieftain is the last to leave the shore. He stands for a moment at the water's edge, taking one final, long look at the smoking, wounded village. His face is unreadable in the flickering light. Then he turns without hurry and wades into the surf, climbing aboard the largest of the dragon ships, the one with the most fearsome carving on its prow. The oars are deployed once more. That slow, steady heartbeat returns, the soft splash and pull, carrying the ships away from the shore. The torches, once a scattered constellation on the land, reassemble on the water, pulling back into a tight, receding cluster. They move out of the bay, back toward the open sea, their dark shapes melting back into the greater darkness. You watch until they are just as they were when you first saw them, a handful of tiny, flickering lights on the horizon. Then, one by one, they wink out, swallowed by the vast, indifferent darkness of the sea. Section 4. The Quiet Aftermath. The silence that settles over the village now is profound. It is a silence deeper and heavier than the one that came before. The familiar night sounds are still there, the sigh of the sea, the whisper of the wind, but they are layered over a vast and empty quiet. The energy is gone. The tension has vanished. The story has ended. All that is left is the evidence. Smoke from the smoldering fires continues to rise, a gentle, gray plume against the paling sky. The eastern horizon is beginning to glow with the first, faint hint of dawn, a soft blush of gray and pink. The moonlight, which had been so bright and clear, now fades, giving way to the gentle, honest, revealing light of morning. In this new light, you can see the details of the night's events. The broken doors hanging crookedly from their hinges. The dark, gaping entrance to the church. The empty sheep pen. The village looks wounded, stunned, as if it is holding its breath. Debris is scattered on the paths, a dropped piece of cloth, a splintered bucket, an overturned cart. Slowly, like people waking from a terrible dream, the villagers begin to emerge fully into the pre-dawn light. They move like ghosts, slowly, hesitantly, gathering in small, hushed groups. They survey the damage, taking stock of their communal loss. A woman kneels by her broken front door, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. A man stares at his empty stone storehouse, his face a mask of disbelief. An old fisherman touches the charred hull of his burning boat at the water's edge. There is no panic now. There are no screams. Only a deep, communal sorrow that hangs in the air like the smoke. And yet, as you continue to watch, you see something else begin to surface. A flicker of resilience. You see a neighbor go to the weeping woman and place a hand on her shoulder. You see two men begin to clear the larger pieces of debris from the main path. Someone fetches water from the well to douse the last of the embers in the haystack. Life, though violently disrupted, is already beginning to reassert itself. The rhythm of survival, of community, is starting to beat again, slowly and faintly at first, but with a stubborn, undeniable persistence. You stay at your window as the dawn breaks fully. The sun's first rays touch the top of the small church tower, then spill down into the village, illuminating the entire scene in a warm, golden light. The light doesn't erase the damage, but it changes it. It transforms the scene from one of violation into one of endurance. It highlights the faces of the people, not in their despair, but in their quiet determination. The sea is calm, its surface sparkling in the morning sun. It holds no memory of the dragon ships. Its waves gently wash the shore clean, erasing the footprints of the invaders, smoothing the sand where the heavy keels had rested. It is a new day. A difficult day, to be sure, but a day to begin again. Conclusion: the wind down to sleep. And as you watch the village begin to stir, to face the morning with a weary and quiet strength, you feel the pull of your own bed, a deep and final call to rest. The spectacle is over. The midnight adventure has come to its close. You pull away from the window, leaving the morning to the villagers. You slide back under the warmth and weight of your blankets. The familiar comfort of your own bed is a safe harbor after your long night's watch. The sheets are cool and smooth against your skin. The pillow is soft beneath your head. The muffled sounds of the raid begin to fade from your memory, replaced now by the gentle, profound quiet of your own room. The dancing torchlight gives way to the soft, welcome darkness behind your closed eyes. Allow the strange, mesmerizing rhythm of the night's events to carry you now, not to alertness, but to a place of deep and final rest. The steady beat of the oars becomes the steady beat of your own heart, slow and calm. The dancing lights become shifting patterns that gently dissolve into darkness. The muffled sounds become a form of white noise, a distant murmur that signals it is time for sleep. The story is over. The sea is quiet. Let your thoughts drift away, like the dragon ships into the night. Let your worries and concerns dissolve, like the smoke from the fires into the morning air. There is nothing left to see, nothing left to hear. There is only the darkness, the quiet, and the gentle, welcome embrace of sleep. Allow your body to feel heavy and relaxed. Allow your mind to become still. Feel yourself sinking into the mattress, sinking into comfort, sinking into peace. Deeper and deeper. The window, the village, the sea, it all fades away. There is only the darkness, the quiet, and the gentle, welcome, peaceful embrace of sleep. Allow yourself to sink into it, deeper and deeper, until the story of the night becomes a dream, and the dream itself fades into the peaceful, empty oblivion of a good night's rest. Sleep now. Sleep.